The tunnel is cold, not winter cold, underground cold. The kind of cold that has not been disturbed since the spring of 1945. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, past the collapsed beams and the rockfalls that have sealed this passage for 8 decades, there is supposed to be a train, an armored train, said to be 12 cars long, 300 tons of gold, looted art, jewels, and weapons on board. It entered this tunnel in the final weeks of the Second World War, and it never came out. This is the Owl Mountains of southwestern Poland. Steep forested ridges, medieval castles, and something much darker beneath them. The Nazis did not just retreat through here, they built here a vast underground complex called Project Riese, German for giant, 7 separate tunnel systems, 9 kilometers of passages carved into solid rock by forced laborers worked until they collapsed. The purpose remains uncertain. The legend of what it hides has outlived the regime that built it, the Nazi gold train, the most searched for treasure in Poland that no one has ever found, and the story of what happened when 2 men claimed they had finally located it. The story begins in Breslau, Wrocław today. In late 1944, it was still German. The Red Army was pushing west. The city's authorities did what collapsing empires do. They collected the gold, several tons of bullion gathered from residents, deposited in police headquarters, loaded onto a train headed deeper into the shrinking Reich. The train left Breslau. It passed through Freiburg in Schlesien, now a Polish town called Świebodzice, and then it vanished. It never reached the next station at Waldenburg, now called Wałbrzych. According to the legend, the train was diverted into a sealed side tunnel near Champ Castle, a fortress built in the late 13th century on a ridge above the town. Underneath that castle, the Nazis had been digging for 2 years. According to one early account, a German who had lived in the area told a local man about a train hidden beneath the castle just after the war. That man believed the story. Generations of treasure hunters followed. But to understand why anyone takes this seriously, you have to understand what the Nazis actually built beneath these mountains. That part is not legend. Project Riese. The code name means giant. Between 1943 and 1945, the Third Reich excavated 7 underground complexes in the Owl Mountains and beneath Książ Castle. The rock is nice, extremely hard, difficult to blast. That was the point. It provided total protection from Allied bombs. 9 kilometers of tunnels were carved out, underground halls 12 meters high, narrow gauge railways, elevator shafts, drainage systems, dug by hand. The labor came from the Gross-Rosen concentration camp network. 13 subcamps called Arbeitslager Riese. At least 13,000 prisoners were assigned. They were all Jews, transported from many parts of occupied Europe, most from Hungary, others from Poland, Greece, Romania, Czechoslovakia, the Netherlands, Belgium, and elsewhere. They drilled and blasted and hauled rock in conditions built to extract labor, not sustain life. Typhus swept through the camps in December of 1943, again at the end of 1944. Malnutrition, exhaustion, dangerous work in unstable tunnels. 14 documented executions after failed escapes. The estimated death toll across the Riese camps is 5,000 people. By February of 1945, the Red Army was closing in. The camps were evacuated. Prisoners too ill to move were left behind. Some were still there when Soviet forces arrived in May. Project Riese was abandoned at the initial stage. Only 11% of the tunnels were ever reinforced with concrete. No documentation survives explaining its purpose. Some historians believe it was to be Hitler's underground headquarters. Others, an arms factory safe from bombing. What is certain is that thousands died building it, and then it was left to the dark. For decades, the Polish authorities searched for the train. The Polish armed forces during the communist era found nothing. Treasure hunters came and went. Every few years, someone claimed to be close. Nobody was. Then August of 2015, two men, Piotr Koper, a Pole, Andreas Richter, a German, co-owners of a mine exploration company called XYZ. They approached the Polish government through lawyers. They had obtained a deathbed confession revealing the train's location, and ground-penetrating radar images to prove it. They wanted 10% of the recovery value. Negotiations began. On August 28th, Deputy Culture Minister Piotr called a press conference. He announced that the radar images confirmed, with 99% certainty, an armored train 100 meters long, buried near kilometer 65 on the Wrocław to Wałbrzych railway line. The global media exploded. Treasure hunters swarmed the woods with metal detectors. Police deployed to guard the site. Satellite trucks lined the roads of a town nobody outside Poland had ever heard of. Then, 3 days later, the regional governor pushed back. Tomasz Molars told reporters there was no more proof for this discovery than for any other claim over the years. In September, Koper and Richter went public. They released their radar images. The Polish military moved in to clear trees and search for unexploded ordnance. In November, two scientific teams gained access. Koper and Richter formed one. The other came from AGH University of Science and Technology in Krakow, led by Professor Janusz Madej. On December 15th, Madej delivered his verdict. No train. The radar anomaly was natural geology. Possible evidence of a collapsed tunnel, but no tracks. No gold. He looked at Koper and Richter and said what became the most famous line of the entire saga. It is human to make a mistake, but it is foolish to stand by it. They stood by it. In May of 2016, Koper and Richter secured permission from Polish state railways to dig. The excavation began August 15th. 64 people, engineers, geologists, chemists, archaeologists, privately funded, 7 days. Nothing. No tunnel, no tracks, no train. The radar anomaly was natural ice formations in the soil. The dig shut down. But Wałbrzych had already won. Tourism was up 44% that year. The mayor of Wałbrzych estimated the global publicity at roughly $200 million. The annual promotion budget was $380,000. Whether the explorers find anything or not, the gold train has already arrived. Koper searched again in June of 2017. 7 cavities detected. Deep drilling needed. The funding stalled. In August of 2018, Richter left the project, and then, in January of 2019, Piotr Koper found something real. Not a train, not gold, but priceless 16th century Renaissance wall paintings, hidden behind plaster in an old palace in the village of Struga. Real treasure. Just not the kind he had been looking for. Here is the twist. The gold train does not exist. It almost certainly never did. No documentary evidence has ever been found. No wartime record mentions it. No manifest. No order. No witness who saw it with their own eyes. The Polish authorities searched. The Polish military searched. Private explorers with ground-penetrating radar, magnetometers, and a privately funded excavation budget searched. The most famous treasure in Poland is a story. But Project Riese is real. The tunnels are real. 9 kilometers of them, 7 complexes. You can walk through several today. The cold is still there. The silence too. 5,000 people died, carving passages into a mountain for a purpose no document survives to explain. The difference between a lost treasure and a mass grave is the difference between a legend and a place of memory. One is entertaining. The other demands something harder, remembering what actually happened. As of July of 2025, a group calling itself Gold Train 2025 claims there is a train at an undisclosed location in the Świdnica Forest District outside Wałbrzych. 3 boxcars in an old tunnel. Limited permission secured. Metal detectors only, 50 centimeters deep. By hand. The search continues. 80 years of rumors. 9 kilometers of tunnels. 5,000 dead. And one train that exists only because we want it to exist. What else is still buried beneath those mountains? Subscribe to Lost Fathoms. Real stories, real history, real treasure. Some legends survive because they are true. Others survive because we refuse to let them die. See you in the next one.